So, after 5 games, 1 win, 1 draw, 3 losses, 9 goals scored and 12 goals conceded, pre-season is very close to coming to an end. We've got 1 game left against Inter, which is at 3 o'clock on Sunday. But before we do that, what I thought would be quite fun, along with my friend and very good Chelsea analyst, probably the best Chelsea analyst on YouTube, Joey Knight.
I thought we were expecting someone. I thought you were going to bring George Benson or someone like that in here when you said very good analyst.
Mate, I don't know if you know this, but you've got 100,000 subscribers.
I had heard a rumour.
Can we all just say in the comments, congratulations to Joey on hitting 100,000?
You know what the next mission is?
What is it?
We're going to get you there.
Yeah, well, we'll start.
Listen, your subscriber count has been climbing, mate.
Hey, I've got to just say to the subscribers, thank you so much to every single one of you that have subscribed. If you aren't subscribed, please do just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button right now. But we've got some unbelievable people in here right now, mate.
Before we move on from this, I do want to give a little bit of credit here because you've given me enough credit about the fact that I've hit 100,000 subscribers, right? But can I be brutally honest with you and the viewers here?
Please do.
Right.
Speak directly to them.
You love doing the stuff, me and you.
Oh, I love doing me and you.
All that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
But you've probably been guilty, maybe over the last season or so, of neglecting your own channel. Yeah?
I think that's fair to say, yeah.
However, part of neglecting your own channel comes from the fact you give me so much of your time and help me so much of my channel. So if you're thinking I'm suggesting that this man is not working hard, you're very much mistaken because he could sell ice to the Eskimos.
We've grafted, haven't we? We've had fun, though.
We've been grafting.
We've had a lot of fun talking about Chelsea last season.
Can I just say, the point I'm trying to make here is in the last, I would say, 2 months, you've leveled up massively with your channel.
Is that since you've come on the channel?
No, because the vanity of me would like to say, oh yeah, that's what it really is. You know what I mean? But I started looking at the views the other day, mate. Yeah. It's like most people will their views might trickle up a little bit. They might even double at times. Your views within the space of a couple of videos now, stretching back probably about a month, of times by about 10.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're going to doing like the nice little 3,000, 4,000 views on a video, which is still solid, still good or whatever. And now just your average video you're putting up is like 10 times that or whatever. So people are loving the channel. People are loving you. And the main thing is that now, listen, we love having each other here, but we've got to be able to do our own bits and pieces because sometimes we can't get in together all the time.
Horrible, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we like being in person because as much as we can do the remote calls, we like to spend a bit of time with each other.
I just liked seeing you, to be honest with you, mate. We've just had a week together in LA. It was a wonderful time.
Lovely.
But now we've had a lovely Friday morning together.
We're about to have a lovely Saturday together.
Could be lovely Friday afternoon.
We might even end up having a lovely Sunday together.
Oh God, just
if
stop
I'm not
it.
too hungover and I make it to the intermatch.
Are you gonna make it? Call it now. Because by the way, guys, and again, not only do we need to congratulate Joe, but we also need to wish him a very happy birthday because he's turning 30 very, very soon. We're going to be celebrating tomorrow. I can't wait to celebrate it. Are you going to be making the Intergame after your 30th birthday party?
Ask me that after a couple of drinks and I might give you a different answer.
You'd probably say yes after a couple of drinks.
I ain't even got a ticket.
Yeah, but you'll get a ticket.
I just turned up to the stage, didn't I, really? And I'm like, hello.
Yeah. Do you know who I am?
I'm only joking.
We'll get in there. We'll get in there.
Yeah.
But before we do, what I think we need to discuss, and I really want your honest opinion on this, are you excited about the upcoming season after the pre-season that we have just had? I've just listed the stats there. It hasn't gone well. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling?
Well, I think that anyone that watches our content would understand that I am way more emotional than I am methodical, okay? And what that means is the lows are low, the highs are high, and I do not care whether it's a Champions League final or a pre-season friendly. I get just as upset when we lose a game and I get just as happy when we win a game, right? It's the ADHD in me, mate. It just through the roof. Do you know what I mean? So, obviously, there have been a couple of low moments this pre-season. There have been a couple of high moments this pre-season. And I've done a lot of research into really trying to determine whether pre-season matters. And the conclusion I have come to is I really don't know. I'm undecided. Like, there's evidence that pre-season matters. There's lots of evidence that pre-season doesn't matter. I am no less excited for the start of this Premier League season than I was before a ball was kicked. I obviously understand that there are not even underlying issues. There's very apparent issues that need fixing in this squad and need working on in this squad. But at the same time, I do think that only once the season begins will I really be able to answer that question of how excited I am. Because there was a time last season, right? Probably I was really excited at the start of the season because pre-season had gone so well.
Unbeaten.
We looked good against Liverpool.
Yep.
Then we lost to West Ham and it was like, what happened there? But at the same time, we played the better football in that match. Then we got running and we got the 3-0 win against, I was about to say Burnley, it was Luton, wasn't it? And then I was really optimistic. And then we went on that poor run where we couldn't deal with the low block and optimism started to slow down a little bit. So it's a very long-winded way of answering this, but ultimately I'm going to have to see how we do against the likes of Man City. It's a very hard game to open up against. And then we'll see how things come on from there.
Yeah, for me, I want to also just quickly discuss the sort of the tactics of it because it affects my answer in terms of how I'm excited about the season. I think when we saw Pochettino go into the last season, obviously, again, the results weren't the best when we, as you say, when we went into the season itself. But the pre-season, it showed that there was a clear tactical identity. There was a very clear lineup that we saw, and there were sort of movements within that team, a young team that we saw could be translated into the Premier League. It didn't translate, and that's interesting in itself. But I'm looking at the sort of the tactics at the moment, and it's making me a lot more nervous than I was even like just after Maresca was hired. When he was hired, we heard stuff, and you told me about stuff that Leicester fans had said to you, where they were going, oh yeah, there were moments in the season that we weren't quite sure of him. I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were talking to a Leeds correspondent who was talking about how he viewed Leicester from the outside, watching Leeds. Obviously, they were competing with Leicester in the Championship.
Yeah.
And they were saying that there were moments in the season where they could have absolutely lost it, and they had the highest wage bill. They could have completely dropped out. I think it was about March. They really sort of like put their foot off the gas and they ended up losing a few games. And a lot of people were questioning Maresca. So it's interesting, isn't it? Leicester fans that we've talked to weren't particularly upset that he left. He's come into a high pressure job that we've come into at Chelsea, and he's got a cauldron of pressure. Not only has he got to deal with Pochettino leaving, who was very well liked at the end of last season, and we were getting very good results. He's come in and he's basically ripped up what we had tactically, and we've got to start again. Obviously, he's got to integrate the squad that we have, and we've got to play the team and actually try and get something out of them. But how are you feeling generally about the sort of the tactics themselves right now? And do you think that we're going to see that progress throughout the season and we'll get better?
Well, just to go back to what you said there about Maresca's style of play at Leicester and whatnot, I do very much believe that a tradesman is only as good as the tools he has to work with. And yes, in the Championship, you look at the wage bill, you look at the big name players that they had down there, and they actually did some good business going down to the Championship, the likes of Harry Winks that they brought in, who obviously, listen, he's not a Premier League maybe level player, or I think it's maybe a little bit harsh on him, but he's definitely good player in a Championship. They had Jamie Vardy that stayed on with them, Keenan Dewsbury Hall, who's just gone for 35 million, which for a Championship player. So I think it would have been a massive disappointment if he didn't get him out of that league. But I do think with a better quality of player, which is undeniable that Chelsea do have, then you're going to see maybe different from him, and maybe him have the confidence to experiment with different tactics, maybe a more attacking philosophy than he did have because of what he's dealing with. Now, that was the one thing there when I speak about that sort of attacking philosophy, right? So far in pre-season, there's been some sort of hand-in-head moments, right? And it all comes from the defending. There's not been Nicholas Jackson missing open goals and things like that. It's all come from the one position, that is the defence, and it's all come from that. And it's the adaptation period, but also potentially the fact that if we're playing, for example, a high line, we don't have the pace in behind to be able to suit that a lot of the time. Got players coming back from injury, the likes of Reece James. We very much hope, and it's a strange one, Reece James, and I'm sort of going off subject here. Normally, Reece has come back from injury, and every single time he's come back, he's just come into the team and been seamless. Like, you know, when he first come back against Nottingham Forest last season, straight away, he was straight up to scratch, and he's always looked that when he comes back into the team. This time round, it's a little bit slower. Now, that could be a good thing, because sometimes you go a little bit slower and you ease into it a little bit more. Don't push your body too hard. However, what I would say is the one thing I told you, I was speaking to a couple of Leicester fans, and I said to him, "Oh, so Maresca, like, fill me in. What's he like?" I met these boys on holiday, and they're talking, and they said, "Boring football, mate. Boring football. He plays boring football." Okay, things may change as the Premier League season. Maybe he becomes a little bit more compact, a little bit more reserved, and maybe he fears the level of opposition a little bit more, and that makes him sort of, I don't know, just stabilises it a little bit. But at the moment, from what I'm seeing in pre-season, for good and for bad, boring is not a word I would describe this Chelsea side as.
No.
I don't think we've been boring in pre-season at all. So that is one of the fears that I had, quashed a little bit. But they did say a lot about playing out from the back, and I do think he's stubborn, and I do think he'll continue with that. So my worry, if I was to give the worry, and I'm more optimistic than I am pessimistic, by the way, but if I was to give the worry, my worry would be that we could see something similar to what we saw with Pochettino, not systematically or tactically, but just in terms of the trend that is the first half of the season, the players are getting to learn a system they haven't really played before, and a new system, okay? However, the reason I believe it's going to go better for Maresca than it did for Pochettino in the first half of that season is if you look at the amount of signings we've made this season, it's nowhere near as much. And you could go, oh, well, hold on, the likes of Kellyman, and these guys aren't going to play. So in terms of guys that are actually going to play, you've only really brought in Tosin Adebayo, Jorgensen, and Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, okay? So the adaptation in terms of players getting to know each other, forming bonds, gelling, understanding each other's playing style, and just getting used to each other is already going to have been done a lot last season. So he's not going to have that to combat. They're going to be learning a new system, but they're not so much going to be learning about each other because they've now spent the best part of a year, sometimes more, with each other. So I think it will level out in some sort of way. But ultimately, we'll see when the season begins.
Yeah. When we're talking about the defence, right, the one thing that I want to get your POV on is whether we need to sign another
POV,
player.
never heard of that.
No, you've never Googled that either.
Can I tell you a funny story, right? So, I was with my missus, and I can't remember what we were looking at, but it wasn't that. It wasn't corn.
Yeah.
With a P.
Well done.
It weren't that. But anyway, like, you know when you just answer a question way too quickly? She went, it was something, and we were viewing flats. And it said like click for POV. Yeah. So obviously someone's got probably a camera on their head and they're walking around the flat, and she's gone POV, and I'm only like half paying attention. I'm like doing something on the laptop. She's over here, and she went, POV, what is POV? And I went, point of view.
Seamlessly.
She went,
seamlessly.
Oh. And I was like, yeah. But I never told her why I knew it, and she was none the wiser, so I got away scot-free. Anyway, come on, get back to it.
Back to your POV of defenders. Yeah. Now we've moved on from that. It's in your search queries, that's all we're going to say.
Not going to deny it.
Look at his face. So yeah, do you think we need like an experienced defender to solve this issue, or do you think these players that we've got, the youngsters, can be trained into this system?
Well, it's hard, isn't it? Because at the same time as saying we need an experienced defender, we also need a defender that's got some pace about him. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a very, very big part of me that feels like we shouldn't have let Thiago Silva go.
Have you heard there's been some rumours this week about another experienced defender, very experienced defender, played in Champions League finals, played at the top level for a long time, being linked with us, 35-year-old.
Is he a free agent at the minute?
He's a free agent.
Is it Matty Hummels?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I hadn't heard it, but I was actually doing a little bit of research myself, and I was looking at a few free agents.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you think about that?
I'll take him.
Yeah, I would take him as well.
Not quickest.
Does that really matter?
It might not matter depending on where you play him.
I think this high line thing is a bit of a misnomer.
Yeah.
You know? I think we're talking about high line because the players aren't used to the formation. And I think basically they'll drop in, and I don't think it'll be a massive problem.
I would definitely take Hummels, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd definitely take Hummels.
I think he improves the defence.
I think there's a good bit of business to be done there, because I think, once again, like the Tosin Adebayo signing, be a free signing. Yeah. The wages are probably be a little bit higher, and you'd expect that. But maybe if you did it and you did it on a 2-year contract, the main thing is, like, I do do want to see a mixture from this board. And I've now separated myself from the whole signing all the wonder kids thing, because I understand that half of them aren't going to play. You know, Andre Santos probably won't really ever play for Chelsea. Caicedo probably won't really ever play for Chelsea. No. I'd probably say the same about Moreira, Angelo, so many more, David Datro Fofana. So I've sort of separated myself from getting excited. But at the same time, there are guys like Romeo Lavia, like Cole Palmer that come in, that are young players, Enzo Fernandez, but you know they are going to play. You know they're going to be in that first team. But we can't only have them. We need experience in there. So would I be adverse to giving Matty Hummels a 2-year contract? Absolutely no way. Of course I wouldn't be averse to it. I'd have him. So yeah, definitely I'd be up for that. My initial thing is there's part of me that wants to go, yeah, I'd like to bring an experienced centre-back in there, but I am basing that a lot on the fact that at the moment, pre-season, I understand it will change in the Premier League season, but pre-season, Reece is looking a little bit leggy, as is Wesley Fofana, and Badiashille is not looking a little bit leggy, but he's looking a little bit, not too much going on up here. That could all change, and I'm very hopeful it does, and I'm semi-optimistic it does. And if it does change, then I'm not going to be sat there going, oh, we need an experienced defender in there. I'm probably going to be happy with what we've got. Sorry, I'm giving you a very long-winded answer here.
No, I love it.
But just to make my point here, out of the defenders this season, Wesley Fofana, who brought in for 80 million. Benoit Badiashile wasn't on the cheap. Axel Disasi, we spoke about the fact that he's going to come back and we'll see how he fares in this system. But we're going on about centre-backs, bearing in mind Trevor Chalobah's probably going to, unfortunately, be leaving. I think Tosin Adarabioyo is probably going to have the best season for us out of the centre-backs. I think so.
I'm surprised about that because I didn't have high expectations for Tosin when he came in.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. I thought he was good at Fulham.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's awful. I'm not saying he's a rubbish player, but I didn't expect him to hit the ground running and be a first team player immediately within this squad, because I think there is, as much as we banter about Badiashile and Disasi, they've had a year extra within this squad. And I do think, for me, or what I thought was going to happen, is they would have the favour of Maresca. But it doesn't seem that way, does it? It seems like Tosin's going to be involved in and around the first team quite quickly.
I think Tosin will be. I think he will be. Yeah. So I think he'll be one that goes under the radar a little bit, but I think he just give you them 7 out of 10 performances. Listen, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but that's my gut at the minute.
So to summarise our sort of thoughts on pre-season and add some as we go here, I think generally the defence is the biggest weakness, as we've just discussed, and I am concerned about that. I'm also concerned about the starting goalkeeper, and I do think we need to bed in Jorgensen as quickly as possible and move on from Sanchez. I think that's quite clear for everyone to see, and I really hope in the intergame that is coming up that we do see Jorgensen start, because if we don't, I could see Sanchez starting against Man City, and I think
hope we see Petrovic start.
That's a car crash waiting to happen. I think Petrovic will be on loan. It's scary. Have you heard the rumours about him going to Strasbourg? That's what they're saying. They're going to loan him to Strasbourg.
He's too good for Strasbourg.
It doesn't make sense. He's sitting there and they're saying he's confused about the development plan. Why would he go there? It's not. It doesn't make any sense. Let's not even go on the goalkeepers too much. In terms of the midfield, I'm actually quite happy with the midfield. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not too concerned about it. Like I like the look of Lavia. I'm really chuffed with him. I think Caicedo looks good. Enzo is going to have to work his arse off to get into the squad. KDH looked very good when he's played. The assist that he got was a very good assist. I thought he's looked fine. So the midfield, I'm not particularly concerned of. Obviously, we've lost Conor Gallagher, but I think we've got so many bodies in and around that area now. I think we're going to be fine. The attack is interesting. Again, it hasn't been too poor considering we haven't had a Nicholas Jackson. We don't have Samu coming into the team, and we're still waiting for another striker. I think overall the attack has looked relatively functional. Noni Madueke's looked very strong, hasn't he? Sterling has definitely outperformed my expectations in terms of pre-season. I think he looks really good. I think, I have to put my hands up here and be honest with you guys. I think Mudryk has had a really underwhelming pre-season, and I think he really needs to step up.
Pre-season? Okay.
He was brilliant last year, mate. Look at the Arsenal goal, Newcastle goals.
We
could just carry on going.
He's had an underwhelming stint at Chelsea football.
The Forest goal, we don't need to keep on going. That Forest goal was
good. That Forest goal was good. And in the system that Maresca plays, and I think it was you that made this point, that is something we could see replicated.
Exactly.
So let's see how he does. My gut instinct is that Mudryk does not get many minutes at all.
I don't think he will do, especially considering we're looking for another left-sided player. So, overall, the way that I would summarise it is I'm relatively excited about pre-season. I think we are going to get better, but it was terrible in some of those games. You have to
and
say
also
that.
remember, there's going to be an adaptation period.
Yeah.
And let's just please not lose our heads.
Yeah.
If we do end up shipping 3 goals to Man City on the opening day of the season.
I'm calling it a free hit, mate.
Yeah.
I'm calling that City game a free hit because we wouldn't have won that game last season, would we? Oh, we might have.
I know. We had a couple of good results.
It was
against them.
4-3 win, wasn't it?
4-3 win because obviously Cucurella was fouled by Haaland. So there you go.
4-3 win at home. Maybe we would have won that game last season. But what about you, mate? What are your final thoughts then for pre-season?
Listen, obviously, I'd be buzzing if we were going in off the back of 5 pre-season wins and, you know, if we hadn't have shown these defensive vulnerabilities. But I think attacking-wise, we've shown enough in there to give me confidence going into this season. And I also think you need to be realistic as Chelsea fans. We need to be realistic of where we are at this moment in time. We've got some brilliant, brilliant young players. They are going to grow. You saw they grew together in experience and in actual know-how of how to play with each other last season. And I think that will continue into this season. So I'm excited. I'm optimistic. And I'm relatively confident. Let's see how it starts once the season goes. But one thing I do know is we've got a video plan for your channel, haven't we? Where we are going to give almost our pre-awards of overachiever of the season, underachiever of the season, predicted player of the season. So we're buzzing for that one. And that will be coming out in the next couple of days, won't it?
Yeah, we'll do that video as soon as we possibly can. We're going to record that because we've got a lot of different categories about what we're going to do. Best player, biggest underachiever. It's going to be very telling in terms of the individuals that we think are good and not good out of this preseason. I think it's very revealing for how they're then going to perform this season as well. But we'll leave that for the next video.
Yep.
Thank you so much for watching this. If you aren't already subscribed and you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Joey's channel. He's got 100,000 people in there, but a couple more couldn't hurt, really, could it? And if you did like this kit, by the way, you can pick up this kit and there's a brand new kit, also the away kit that looks absolutely fantastic. Joey might be rocking that very soon, I've heard on the grapevine.
Yes.
He's going to be looking very good in that kit. And if you want to pick up the kit, you can do so via the link in my description. Just click down there and it will support me. So thanks so much for doing that. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.